The film opens in the vast silence of space. We see a young woman named Ria, drifting into consciousness inside a massive space station. She wakes up with a sharp gasp, her face tense, her body trembling with fear. As her eyes adjust, she realizes the station around her is in complete disarray. Warning alarms echo through the metal halls, red lights flash on the walls, and the entire station seems to be on the edge of collapse. Ria instinctively touches her head and feels the warmth of blood. A deep wound has split her scalp, and pain pulses through her skull. Confusion clouds her mind. She doesn't remember who she is, where she came from, or why she's here. It's as if her entire identity has been erased. The only thing she can hear are the mechanical alarms blaring endlessly, repeating the same order: reset the system. Shaking, Ria grabs a handheld torch from the wall and begins moving carefully through the station. Each corridor feels colder, darker, and emptier than the last. When she pushes open the hatch to a crew cabin, she freezes in horror. Inside, the lifeless bodies of her fellow astronauts are sprawled across the floor, motionless, their faces pale and twisted in pain. The stench of death makes her stomach churn. Questions race through her mind. What happened here? Who killed them? Am I the only one left? Terrified, she stumbles away and reaches the outer gate of the station. Through the reinforced glass, she sees the surface of the planet below. Gathering her courage, Ria suits up and opens the hatch. To her surprise, she steps outside without wearing a helmet. The air burns cold against her skin, but it is breathable. The planet is blanketed in falling snow. Jagged mountains rise like frozen giants all around her. The world looks empty, lifeless, and yet hauntingly beautiful. But as she walks further, her heart pounds faster. The frozen corpses of humans lie half buried in the snow. Their stiff hands and pale faces stare at her from beneath layers of frost. Suddenly, a dark shape flickers in her vision, her own shadow stretching unnaturally across the icy ground. But just as quickly it vanishes. A strange pink and blue light begins to spread across the horizon, rippling like a wave of energy. Ria clutches her throat, gasping for air. The light suffocates her lungs as if the atmosphere itself has turned toxic. She stumbles and runs back toward the space station, every breath heavier than the last. Barely making it inside, she collapses on the floor, her chest heaving. As she tries to calm herself, visions flood her mind. She sees flashes of her crew from the past, faces, voices, fragments of conversations. From this vision, we learn that the planet is called KOI, though the crew had nicknamed it Ash because of its bleak, ashen landscape. The vision fades. Back in the present, Ria inserts a small chip into the back of her neck. Instantly, a strange sense of relief washes over her, like a fog lifting from her brain. Her pain eases, and her breathing steadies. She strips down and steps into the station's shower, washing away the blood and dirt. As water runs down her body, the dark stains of blood streak across her skin, a grim reminder that she is not safe. Later, while exploring the station again, she discovers a book filled with technical notes about the shuttle. Alongside it, she finds a video recording, her own. Watching it, she begins to piece together fragments of who she was and what her mission had been. But before she can process it fully, she hears a sudden sound echoing through the corridor. Her pulse races. She hides near the airlock, clutching a metal rod as a weapon. From the shadows, a figure emerges, a man wearing a space suit. He moves slowly, cautiously. To Ria, he seems like a threat, and she prepares to strike. But before she attacks, the man removes his helmet, revealing his face. "My name is Brian," he says calmly. "I'm your partner. I was in charge of this mission." Ria's grip loosens, confusion spreading across her face. Brian explains that he came because she had called for help. But Ria, still struggling with her fragmented memory, doesn't recall making any such call. He scans the bloody cabin around them and asks her whether their missing crew member, Clark, was the one responsible for the deaths. When Ria doesn't answer, Brian insists, "It was Clark. You called me because of her." But Ria can only shake her head, lost and uncertain. Brian leads her to the medical bay. He gently places her on a bed and activates a robotic medical device that scans her entire body. As machines hum around her, Brian speaks softly, trying to remind her of their mission. He explains the truth. Earth had collapsed under the weight of overpopulation. Humanity's only hope was to find a new home. This was not their first attempt. 6 missions before this had failed. KY was their 7th and final mission, humanity's last chance at survival. When Ria wakes, she whispers, "Who am I? Tell me about me first." But Brian doesn't answer directly. Instead, he says, "You'll remember soon. The pieces will come back." That night, Ria wakes from sleep in terror. In the dim light, she sees a half-dead man standing in front of her. His body is broken, bleeding, and grotesque. But when she blinks, he vanishes. A hallucination. She grips her head and forces herself to breathe. The next morning, she and Brian work together to remove the bodies of their dead crew members from the station. The stench of decay had begun to spread through the air vents. Clark, however, is nowhere to be found. They suspect she may still be alive outside the station, wandering. Brian shrugs off the concern. If she's outside, her oxygen will run out. She'll come back eventually. But then his expression darkens. He remembers that their own oxygen supply is running dangerously low. If they don't leave soon, they'll die. Later, while exploring again, Ria stumbles upon a pair of scissors stained with dried blood. As soon as she touches them, violent flashbacks strike her mind. She sees images of a crew member attacking others with the same scissors. She gasps and drops them, trembling. Brian finds her and tells her about the deadly storm raging outside on the planet. But amidst the chaos, Ria shares something that gives her hope. I'm starting to remember." Their conversation is cut short by blaring alarms. The oxygen levels of the station are plummeting. The storm outside has damaged the system. Working quickly, Ria locates the breach and repairs it. But the damage is already done. 30% of their oxygen supply is gone. The loss is devastating. That oxygen could have kept them alive for 10 more days. Now they are on borrowed time. Brian insists they must abandon the station and return to safety. But Ria refuses. She believes Clark may still be alive and she cannot abandon her. "You don't understand," Brian snaps angrily. "I'm the captain here. You will listen to me." His shouting shakes her already fragile mental state. To calm her down, he gives her another chip to insert into her neck. The moment she does, her body relaxes again, her thoughts numbed. That night, Ria dreams. In her vision, she sees her husband, another crew member. Together, they stand on the surface of a strange planet. A massive pit glows nearby, pulsing with energy. Her husband warns her not to go near it. His voice is filled with dread. Before she can respond, the dream ends, and she wakes up in a cold sweat. Driven to understand, Ria begins watching old video footage of the mission. She rewinds to the very first day. In the recording, Brian sends crew members to explore the planet. They stumble upon the same massive pit. Strange liquid swirls inside it, unnatural, alien. They realize instantly, this was not formed naturally. Someone or something built it. As one of the crew peers into the pit, a violent burst of energy erupts from within. It strikes him with deadly force, smashing his skull instantly. Ria recoils in shock as she watches the footage. Brian enters the room quietly, but Ria now sees the truth. He already knew this planet was dangerous. He had kept it from her, desperate to keep the mission alive. Even worse, she realizes the patches Brian has been giving her, the chips for her neck, aren't medicine. They are designed to erase her memories, keeping her obedient and focused only on the mission. But now, her memories are coming back in fragments. She remembers stabbing her own husband with scissors. His eyes had gone lifeless, his body twisted, as though he wasn't human anymore. He had been possessed by something, controlled by the energy from the pit. Ria had killed him to save herself. Her body trembles with guilt. She realizes Clark may also be under the same control. Perhaps Clark was the one who killed the others, just as Ria had killed her husband. Determined, Ria decides she cannot leave until she uncovers the truth. She rips the chips from her neck, refusing to let Brian control her any longer. But as soon as she does, another horrifying flashback overwhelms her. Visions of her husband transforming, of crew members turning violent, of something alien seeping into their minds. And then, everything changes. Ria's body shakes violently as another memory floods into her mind. She sees her own hands gripping the scissors, stabbing her husband repeatedly. But in this memory, his eyes are not normal. They are dark, lifeless, as if an alien force had seized his soul. He wasn't the man she once loved, he was something else entirely. The vision leaves her breathless. She collapses against the wall, clutching her chest. The weight of guilt crushes her. "I killed him. I killed my husband." But a small voice inside her whispers the darker truth. "I didn't kill him. I killed what he had become." Still reeling, Ria runs through the station searching for Brian. But when she finds him, her words falter. She tries to explain that Clark may have been possessed, just like her husband, but Brian only looks at her with doubt and frustration. To him, her fragmented memories are unstable, unreliable. Before she can convince him, alarms echo through the station. The system detects movement outside. Ria rushes to the airlock and sees a figure approaching in the storm. It's Clark. Her face is pale, her suit scratched, her movements unsettling. She steps inside the station, her eyes locked on Ria with a terrifying emptiness. Ria's instincts scream that Clark is no longer human. Clark lunges at her, forcing Ria to flee through the corridors. "Brian!" she cries, but no answer comes. Panicked, she searches every chamber, but Brian is nowhere to be found. Finally, Ria stumbles outside the station in desperation. Snow whirls around her, and there in the white haze, she sees it, Brian's lifeless body lying frozen in the snow. His skull has been smashed in, blood dried against the ice. The truth hits her like a thunderbolt. Brian has been dead for at least 2 days. That S.O. who was the man she had been speaking to, working with, and trusting? The Brian she saw all along wasn't real. Ria can barely process the shock when Clark attacks her again. They fight brutally in the storm until Ria drags herself back into the station. Clark follows close behind, relentless, her hands clawing at Ria's helmet. That in a final act of desperation, Ria grabs Clark's helmet, flooding it with water. Clark thrashes violently, suffocating. Within moments, she collapses, lifeless. Panting, Ria drags Clark's body to the medical bay, running a scan with the robotic machine. To her surprise, there is no infection in Clark's body. No parasite, no alien trace. Clark was fully human. Then why had she attacked so violently? Confusion swirls in Ria's mind. Her own body begins to weaken. She inserts more chips into her neck, but the relief is temporary. Her thoughts blur between hallucination and reality. Determined to uncover the truth, she returns to Brian's corpse. Using the medical scanner, she calculates the time of his death. The results send chills down her spine. Brian had been dead for 51 hours, killed by a violent blow to the head. Exactly the injury she had seen in her hallucinations. Ria's mind spins. For 2 days, she has been talking to a ghost, a projection. The Brian she saw wasn't real at all. Alarms blare again, signaling another breach in the station. She grips her weapon, heart pounding, and prepares herself. A figure emerges from the shadows. It's Brian. Alive. Smiling. "No, you're dead," Ria whispers, her voice trembling. Brian steps closer, his eyes glinting unnaturally. "I'm not who you think I am," he says. "I'm a part of your thought." Before she can react, he presses his fingers deep into the wound on her head. Pain sears through her body as the world dissolves into a storm of memories. The flashback reveals everything that we see the day their ship landed on KOI. The crew gathered around the glowing pit, curiosity burning in their eyes. As one scientist peered too close, a wave of energy burst forth, striking his skull with violent force, killing him instantly. The crew retreated in terror, but the mission demanded answers. They began researching the pit, desperate to understand. In their experiments, they discovered a strange parasite, a creature unlike anything they had seen before. It was alive, yet metallic, half organic and half machine. It pulsed with a bizarre energy, behaving both like an animal and like a machine. Ria, the scientist of the crew, studied it closely. She sliced off a piece, curious if it could grow independently. To her horror, the fragment multiplied rapidly, expanding before her eyes. Her husband rushed forward in alarm, but before he could warn her, the parasite leapt into his nose, crawling inside. Within moments, it seized control of his brain. His eyes turned black, his body stiffened, and then, without hesitation, he attacked Ria. Screaming, she grabbed the scissors and stabbed him to death. But even then, the parasite didn't die. It slithered out of his body and into another crew member, corrupting him instantly. The infection spread like wildfire. The crew fought desperately, but the parasite twisted each host into a violent shell of themselves. Clark tried to fight back, even calling Brian for help. But Brian was struck from behind, his skull crushed by an infected crew member. As chaos erupted, Ria faced the infected man. Using every ounce of strength, she stabbed him repeatedly, killing the host. But the parasite was relentless. It slithered again, this time into the open wound on Ria's head. And in that moment, Ria became the infected. The flashback fades, and Ria screams in horror as the truth overwhelms her. She wasn't just a survivor, she was the very thing she feared. The parasite had been inside her all along. The reason she lost her memory was because the parasite had clouded her mind, controlling her thoughts. The hallucinations of Brian? The voice in her head? The visions of dead crew? All illusions crafted by the parasite to manipulate her. The parasite speaks through Brian's image. Humans destroyed Earth. Now they want to destroy this world too. We will not let them. You will help us reach Earth. Humanity must be exterminated. Ria falls to her knees, tears streaming down her face. She realizes that Clark wasn't infected at all. Clark was only trying to stop her, the true carrier of the parasite. Ria had killed her friend with her own hands. Desperate to free herself, Ria drags her body to the medical bay. With trembling fingers, she programs the robotic machine for surgery. Pain floods her senses as sharp instruments pierce her skull. With a final cry, she pulls the parasite from her head. The creature writhes in the tray, its metallic skin glinting, alive and furious. But it isn't finished. It slithers quickly into Brian's corpse lying nearby. His dead body convulses violently as the parasite fuses with his flesh, mutating him into a grotesque monster. The Brian monster rises, towering, its body twisted with alien growths and mechanical claws. It roars and charges at Ria. She fights back with everything she has, but the creature is too strong, hurling her across the room. Barely alive, she grabs a flame gun from the wall. As the monster charges again, she unleashes a torrent of fire. The flames consume it, burning away the parasite and the corpse beneath. The monster shrieks and collapses into ash. Exhausted, bleeding, and broken, Ria sinks to the floor. The mission has failed. Her crew is dead, but she knows what she must do. Humanity has to be warned. She sets the space station's course for Earth. Staring out the window, she whispers her final goodbye to her lost husband and crew. She believes she has destroyed the parasite, ending the nightmare. But then, in the post-credit scene, the camera drifts outside the station. From afar, we see the station wrapped in writhing alien growth. The parasites had already spread beyond Ria's control. Their shimmering tendrils encase the entire structure, feeding on its systems. The whole station drifts silently toward Earth. Unbeknownst to Ria, she is not returning home alone, that a new threat is coming. And Earth is the next target. The screen fades to black.